What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the Very Blessed Podcast. My name is Derek. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and for joining me in our midweek podcast. Today, I wanted to talk about conflict. Specifically, how we as people have this complex for conflict. What I mean by that is that we actually crave it. We crave it in our personal lives, in our relational lives, in our relationships, people around us, and also in our entertainment. Let's begin with entertainment. So reality TV is a really big thing. It has been for a while now. And though reality TV is, for the most part, unscripted, if you've ever watched any of the behind the scenes episodes of any of your favorite reality TV shows, you will probably have heard the cast members say that a lot of the scenes that are filmed have takes, which means they film them more than one time. So it's not necessarily 100% candid. They'll oftentimes have to reenact something that has happened for more of a dramatic effect. Another thing you'll hear is that some things are blown out of proportions due to the way things are filmed and the way things are presented. Meaning, they're not always showing the episode in the order in which it was filmed. And also, if a set gets too stagnant and people are getting along too well, they'll tend to cast someone who is from a different background, who has a different belief system, because they know by bringing that person in, they're much more likely then to get some type of a rift or some type of issue or drama that then will be inserted into the show. This spills over into our personal lives as well. I'm sure you know someone who is constantly surrounded by drama. And these type of people tend to not just crave it, but almost need it in their life. So they constantly have someone who they can argue with, who they can debate with, who they can fight with. It's a constant in their life. These types of people also will look for others in order to expose their issues. What I mean by that is they'll look to people who seemingly have no drama or very limited drama in their lives, and they'll look for cracks in the foundation or cracks in their relationships, and they'll expose them. They'll expose them out of malice because they want to make themselves feel better because other people have problems too. So let's talk about conflict resolution. The word resolution comes from the root word of resolve, which means to settle or to have a firm course of action to settle. And the reason that conflict resolution doesn't work very often is because you have two different parties that you're bringing to the table that have two completely and separate beliefs. Because they have two separate beliefs, their definition on one side of fair and the other's definition of fair is going to be completely different. Due to this, they oftentimes are going to butt heads over terms, and the conflict then continues. But here's a news flash that's really not shocking. Life's not fair. So conflict resolution is not about what's fair. It's about what one side can be okay with and what the other side can be okay with. It's about compromise. If you come to the table of a conflict resolution knowing that you're not going to get what you want, but also understanding that the other side is not going to get what they want either, you'll have a much better chance of resolution. You're going to have some people that tell you that life is about balance and that the universe or life just balances itself out. There's also a very popular saying out there that everything happens for a reason. And I really don't believe either one of those things is true. Number one, I can tell you that not everything happens for a reason because we as people are impulsive. And the very definition of impulsive is to suddenly do something without reasoning. So if we have a world full of impulsive people, that tells you that not everything happens for a reason. Sometimes people just do things because they do things. Now, I'm a firm believer in God and that God created the heavens and the earth and everything within it. But I also believe that in the terms of what the Bible tells us, which is that we have free will. And if we have free will, then that means that God's not a puppet master that's sitting up in heaven pulling strings. If we have free will, then that means you or I can do anything that we choose to do. There's nothing stopping you or I from committing a heinous, unspeakable crime. Maybe the fear of being arrested or incarcerated or the fear of being caught, but the physical act, there's nothing stopping us from doing that. The same token, there's nothing stopping us from doing random acts of kindness or showing immense generosity. And there's less consequence behind that. Yet, we see more crime and more negative actions performed than positive ones, which shows us that this world is not about balance. And there's statistical proof behind it. Each year, our crime rate rises and gets higher and higher. Our prison systems and our jails are fuller and fuller. And that's just from people that have been caught. There are still other people at large. So when you talk about balance, when you ask somebody, what their definition of justice is, oftentimes they'll tell you that if someone does something wrong to me, then justice is that something wrong, something bad happens to that other person. But balance should be a negative reaction for a positive reaction, not a negative reaction for a negative reaction. It's that old saying, two wrongs don't make a right. So if that's the case, and we have justice defined by people being someone doing wrong to me, I can do wrong to them, that's a lot of double negatives with not enough positives. So how do we kind of reverse this complex that we have for conflict? How do we bring more balance to the world? And it starts with forgiveness. The Bible tells us that when Jesus was crucified, he was brutalized. He was spat upon, he was whipped, he was nailed to a cross. And the Bible tells us in Luke chapter 23, verse 34, that he says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing." Meaning, Jesus is forgiving the people that are actively killing him. None of the Roman soldiers that crucified him, none of the Pharisees or the Sadducees that talked badly about him and spat upon him apologized for their actions, but he still forgave them and then pleaded to his Father in heaven to forgive them as well. So that's the example. The example is sometimes there has to be these extreme acts of forgiveness, these extreme acts of kindness, of generosity, of understanding, in order to outweigh these extreme acts of violence, these extreme acts of terror. But here's the thing. This world is imperfect, and there's imperfect people like me in this world. So it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be unbalanced, and there's always going to be conflict in the world. But that doesn't mean we have to give up. That doesn't mean we have to give in. That doesn't mean that we have to follow suit. Keep doing those random acts of kindness. Keep forgiving. Keep understanding. Hope today's midweek episode helped you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. But until next time, my name's Derek. God bless.